Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Breaking the Ceiling. All of us have our favorite sweets from our childhood and adulthood, and one of the most common sweet that is loved by everyone, let it be a kid to an elderly person, is cookies. Today we are going to have somebody who took a simple cookie and created a sensation around it. Not only was the product fantastic, there were people lining up on roads out of nowhere to have it. We started with a small little nano, and she's grown it into a large empire. I'm talking about none other than Neha Sethi, who is the founder of Sweetish House Mafia. Hey Neha, welcome to Breaking the Ceiling.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Neha, I loved how you started. I mean, I know a little bit about the brand. I've been following you from the early days, but I would love to know you before Swedish House Mafia. So tell me about life till before you thought of Swedish House Mafia. What did that look like for you?
Okay, well, that actually no one's really asked me that, so this is very interesting going back into the pre SHM days. I've been born and brought up in Bombay's cathedral schooling. I did science actually in my 11th and 12th. Uh, I don't know why, because I'll tell you why. I did that because I was told that Neha, if you do science, the way you think will be much more different than the way a person who does commerce or liberal arts thinks. I said, okay, that's interesting. Sure, why not? So I did science. I hated it, but that's another thing. And then I went abroad to study. I went to university. I was at Berkeley for a year, and then I transferred to Wharton. I graduated from there with a degree in finance, which also I hated. And then I went to New York for a year. I did investment banking there, which I hated. So, I mean, pretty much everything I did not like, except, of course, the friends in the school and all was great, but the studies part, not that great. I came back and then I started an educational software institute for a bit. We did that, and then eventually I wasn't getting my footing. I wasn't finding something that was exciting or was me, or I felt like this is what I want to do. And I was baking in the side the entire time while I was still trying to figure out what to do. And so that was my life, like studying stuff I didn't like, and then waiting to figure out stuff and waiting for something to happen, and then literally SHM happened. So yeah, that
I think,
was my
I
life.
mean, it's very common. A lot of people in the food sector have started in banking, finance, software. So I keep telling them that's where you make the money, and now you're coming and blowing it up here. Right? And, I've interviewed so many people and I've met so many people, from the same fraternity, and it is uncanny how many people come from the finance and the tech background, right? And a lot of them always said and resonated the same thought. Like I did this and I even did it well, but it didn't. I mean, there's something missing, right? I knew there's something else, some other itch that I had to scratch, right? So I'm glad that you started this. And so tell me about your aha moment. Tell me about like when and why did you decide to start SHM?
So the thing is, I've been baking since I was a kid. My mom is a really good cook, parties, and whenever there was anything happening at home, she'd always rope me in to do the dessert bit because I've always had a sweet tooth. So she figured she'd get help for that at least. So I've been doing on and off with mom, and then even in college a little bit. So it's baking has been there in my life since I was young. Once I was then when things didn't work out with like banking and still trying to figure everything else out, I was still baking off and on, and then giving it to friends and family and just feeding them. And then eventually, like, I don't know how it happened, but one of my friends suggested, you know what, Neha, I think social media was just picking up then over here. So he said that, send it to the bottom of your building, and I'll tell a couple of people, and like I'll put it on my social media, and I'm sure 20 strangers will come and buy these cookies. They are amazing. I said, that sounds ridiculous. And he said, no, 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 just do it, I promise you. I said, okay, like, for me, back, it wasn't much of an investment in that sense, because he said just like 20, 30 cookies. Now that I was baking anyways. I said, okay, this is not a big deal. So I was mulling the idea over in my head. I spoke to my husband about it, and he said, there's no harm in trying it. So it wasn't like a single aha moment. It was like definitely should I, but this isn't what I want to do. I never saw myself as a baker. I've done finance. Chalo, let's do it till I figure it out. So I started doing it to figure life beyond that out, and then I never knew it would just be such a success and that people would take to it, and people really enjoy the cookies so much that it just became what I do.
So tell me about the Nano. Tell me about the Nano. I think that was, I think that took the news by storm, right? I mean, I remember reading about it suddenly all over the place, like, yeah, it's a blue Nano, and you like follow it on social media, you don't know where it's going to show up. So tell me about that. Was it just the same idea of like, hey, it's going to be in a building somewhere, kind of expanded out? How did that play out?
So, okay, so there's two things. First of all, when my friend has suggested it, he said send it to the bottom of the building in a cycle. Now I said, now who will I send with a cycle? I have this small car, maybe this will do. And this small car actually happened to be a wedding gift from my husband and our friends to us, like in 2010, as a joke. A joke wedding gift was the Nano. It was a bet between him and his other really good friend, and they said, and it was just, yeah, like my husband said, yeah, I'll use it. The friend was like, you're never going to use it. So to prove a point, he gifted us a Nano. It was ridiculous. It wasn't used as much, but then for SHM it became our lucky mascot. So anyway, so there was no cycle, there was the Nano. We sent the Nano initially. I just literally took blue chart paper and painted the logo on it, and that's the deal. And I was like, haha, we'll see. But it picked up so quickly that like literally within 2 months, I said it just makes sense to just have the whole thing covered, and it just became like, I guess, the mascot. The Nano was our mascot.
I know it was a mascot, right? It literally became, I mean, that was how people knew the brand. Like, oh, there's a Nano, blue Nano in the city, and you have to, like, like figure out where it is. So tell me a little bit about the brand name. Like, how did you come up with Swedish House Mafia?
So when we were thinking about this venture, and we realized that the name has to be something different and can't be, like I tossed up off with some names. I said Sweet Tooth Fairy and all these random, really boring names, and we were like, this is really not happening. And my brother-in-law Akash, actually, who's my partner in this, he was studying in the States at that time. He was doing his masters, and I told him this idea, and he was like, "Oh, I love it, I love it." So I said, "Yeah, yeah, we have to think of a name." He didn't even give it a millisecond. He's like, "Yeah, Swedish House Mafia." I burst out laughing. I said, "What sort of name is this?" And he's like, "No, no, it's too good." And I loved it. Also because Swedish House Mafia had actually just performed in Bombay, I think that month or a month before. So it was literally fresh in everyone's mind. So he's like, yeah, Swedish House Mafia. I said, yeah, 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 it's perfect. Everyone will have like brand recall and all. And like our family was like, this is a ridiculous name. The adults are not going to be able to pronounce it. They won't know what it means. I said, it doesn't matter. The youngsters will get it. And they like the name. So that's literally how it happened. It happened.
That is, so it's very cool how people actually just stumble onto the name, like stumble onto concepts. So it's serendipity, meets old, unscratched itches or whatever you want to call it, and things are born, which is just absolutely cool. Cool, how that kind of plays out. So tell me in the beginning days, what were the challenges that you faced, right? Like what are the hurdles that you had to overcome as your business started to grow?
So, in terms of the Nano, of course, getting the word out there was a challenge. But honestly, like my friend, he told me, send it to a couple people. And back then, there were just like literally like five bloggers, and literally like they were actual bloggers. They wrote like proper pages, and there was no Instagram, so it was Twitter and Facebook. So there were two of them. There was Shibani and there was Adarsh. Big Booker and Shibani went by her name. So he said, send it to them, and he said if they tweet about it, then you're set. So I said okay. So I sent it to them, and I think I sent it to them on Thursday, and Friday they tweeted, and Friday I had my first delivery, and there was a line. So I would like to say there were challenges with the Nano, but there touch wood, there weren't really many challenges with the Nano. Yeah, sometimes we had cops and all coming and trying to shoo the car away, but I shouldn't say this, but the cookies worked in terms of not getting shooed away.
Right. So, like when you started, did you start out of your home and then did you then after that move to a facility, or like how long were you out of your home for?
So this started in April 2013, and that was out of home. I had like four Bajaj OTCs, and that was till June of 2000, June or July, no, September. September 2014 is when the first store started. So from April 2013 to September 2014, it was out of home. I had taken a couple months break in the middle while we were setting up the brick and mortar store at Tody Mills. So maybe, yeah, a year, yeah, a little over a year was out of the nano,
And
and
how
then
was
the store.
family? Was family okay with all these cookies being made day in and day out?
Yeah, they were quite excited initially. Even they were like, okay, see how it goes. We don't know, like, you're trying something, try. Like, of course, my husband though was, of course, like, yeah, you must try. And the family was really on board with it. They said, yeah, let's see how it goes. And when they saw it picking up, and the newspapers were covering it, radio and TV, and the hoopla and people talking about it and messaging, and you're seeing your friends' kids also like lining up for this. So they were very excited with the whole thing. Like every day, every time there was a delivery, it was like, oh, how did it go? How many cookies were sold? And all. So it was exciting. And then, of course, then when the leap went to the brick and mortar store, then of course it was like, okay, now this is an established business.
So that's when it started getting more serious and it started feeling more like a real business. Like once you have like your own brick and mortar, because now you have more responsibilities, right? Your rent, your people, and the business starts growing. So tell me about a proud moment you've had in the history of SHM.
A proud moment. Oh, honestly, most of my like actual interaction happened during the nano days. So I got a lot of emails then. So a lot of things made me like the messages and emails I got that time were like amazing. Now that now the social media like algorithms are really messed up and all skewed, and you don't get as many messages as you would like. Back then it was just so simple and straightforward. But yeah, there was a time when I got an email from this father, I think, saying that you don't realize how much happiness you bring into our house. I see my kids sharing the cookies, and you just spread so many smiles everywhere. And that was it's such a good feeling that you see that you're spreading smiles in all these people's lives, and people who you don't even know, and you're bringing so much happiness. So that definitely, even today, it makes me so happy when I see posts about SHM and people smiling, just to think that I was responsible for something like that. It's amazing.
Fantastic. I think your biggest fans must be kids. I know one of your big fans is probably my daughter, 6-year-old daughter, who loves two things: your cookies and Lay 15's Pooja's macaroons. These are her two like most favorite sweet dishes ever. Like once in a week, something one of these has to come home, right? And for a birthday, like that's like a staple. Like birthday pay, there's a big order of one of these there, to go to everyone. So I think so. Kids are, I think, your biggest fans are probably kids. Parents appreciate it, but I'm very sure kids, must be smiling year to year when they see your cookies. So, which out of your cookies does the best? Like, which is the one I know which is my favorite, but which one is the one that is like a crowd pleaser?
Honestly, I don't even think people are surprised anymore when I say Nutella sea salt, because that was honestly the original. That was the cookie that started it all. We were the ones who started this whole flavor profile of Nutella and sea salt. Like, it wasn't a thing before. And then I remember, like, the first few times when I gave it to a friend, they're like, oh, these cookies are salty. I'm like, no, that's the flavor profile. It's Nutella and sea salt. So initially people didn't even like what is going on here with the extra salt. So that is by far the most popular cookie. Even though I'm like, guys, try something else. There's all good. They're all good. Try this chocolate walnut one. They're like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
I know.
Nutella.
So it's so different, and it combines flavors which people are not otherwise used to having so well that it literally, like, I must have bought maybe 100 times from you, but out of those 100 times, 99 times, at least one of the cookies has been Nutella sea salt, right? I mean, you'll obviously try other things and all, but that's like a default, like a go to cookie. So if I get two cookies a person, one would be a Nutella sea salt, and then you would get something else, right? So no, that's fantastic. I know. So creating an iconic, brand and an iconic cookie, right, in a market where there are hundreds of cookies and thousands of people making it, I think requires something very special. Tell me a little bit about, are there any upcoming projects, upcoming cookies, anything new that you're planning to do that you can tell us about?
So, we're constantly trying to come up with new things. Now, we know our cookies. Luckily, like, we had the first mover advantage. Back then, when SHM, at least when the Nano started, the whole reason it even started was because I literally was called Cookie in college. That was my nickname because I loved cookies. And when I came back, there were no cookies here except for Indigo Delhi that did fresh cookies. You didn't find cookies anywhere. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I have to make my own cookies. And that's how it actually just took off. So, when SHM started, there was no competition as such, and so we've been able to establish at least the cookie part of things. And now that we have, that is done, like people are like, okay, SHM cookies synonyms, like synonymous with each other. We're now trying to go into different verticals. So now we have, if on our website and Swiggy and all, you see that we have brownies and we have tea cakes, and we have our premixes. We just launched two new premixes this week.
Awesome.
We have the
Awesome.
double chocolate chip premix and the oatmeal raisin. We've had the chocolate chip originally. So these are amazing things for you to do with, like, the adults to do with the kids, or even the adults to do in general when they're bored. It literally takes 20 minutes to whip up these cookies, 10 minutes to mix it, and 10 minutes in the oven, and you have fresh, amazing cookies, which you cannot, like, we made smaller packs that people can literally eat all of it and not, I mean, feel a little guilty, but not too, too guilty.
It's like
So,
I
yeah,
mean,
so
you don't have to bake 20, right? You can just bake 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 and just
yeah,
finish it.
so the small pack only bakes eight. So it's perfect
Right.
for one, like two people to share it, and they're not, yeah. So that's what we just released. And then we're working on some other stuff for retail. But
Okay.
things are, yeah, it's continuous, it's all the time. Yeah.
That is awesome. So I think with the premixes, you're going to really open up the market where where this can be available across thousands of places. You don't need a live kitchen to be able to serve this, right? So, and I'm seeing this trend coming up in the next 1 or 2 years. Almost all the big brands are going to productize. They're going to go, in your kitchen. Like instead of me making it in my kitchen and giving it to you, you will make it in your kitchen. That's the model, right? And I think that's going to open up the market. It's going to open up exports. It's going to open up so many different avenues, right? And so that I think is just a fantastic upcoming project, or if it's already launched. I mean, I've seen it launched, right? So I think that's going to be very, very exciting. So tell me a little bit about what advice, what are the three pieces of advice would you give your 18-year-old self? If you could go back in time and like say, hey, here are three things you need to learn that will make your life easier, it will make you more successful, it will make you whatever. What are the three pieces of advice you'd give your 18-year-old self?
Oh my God. At 18, God, that was when we were leaving for college. I don't even know what I was thinking.
No, so
Oh,
now what you
this.
know, what would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self, like, do this, don't do that?
Uh, it's going to sound very cliched, but I think that everything I've done so far has led up to this moment. So and I feel like I'm a very relaxed and chill person in general. Like, I really, while I study hard, I also relaxed in college and had a good time. So it's not like I can tell my 18-year-old self, don't take yourself too seriously, because I wasn't taking myself too seriously even back then. I have worked hard. So I feel like, is this like, I don't know, I don't know what I would tell my 18-year-old self. I think I've
So
done.
that is awesome. So that's the first time somebody doesn't know. I mean, they're like, I wouldn't do anything differently, right? So the other day, I was talking to one of my mentors. His name is Dr. Velumani, right? He's the owner of Thyrocare. And he had $1 billion exit. He started at 500 rupees and he had $1 billion exit. So when I was talking to him, I just asked him the same thing. I'm like, hey, what would you do differently? He said, nothing. I would still want to be in a poor village. I would still want to go to the same school I went to. I would still want to eat my daily meals provided by the government. I would still want to live in a hostel. I would still want to come to Bombay with 500 rupees. I would still marry the same woman I married. I would still want to, start my lab in this small little place and have the lab in front, live at the back. I would still want the same siblings. I would still want my same children. I would still want all the different things I had, because that's exactly what got me ready for where I'm today. Is that I would not do a single thing differently, which is a fantastic, So that having no regrets, but more than that, living that life, knowing that hey, that life got you to where you are today, right? So, it reminds me of this phrase "amor fati," right, which is like hey, love or fate, right? So it's okay. There's nothing and no regrets. Living a life with no regrets, right? So I think that is just absolutely fantastic. So tell me a little bit about a superpower you have that most people don't know?
Ooh, a superpower that the people don't know of. I think people know everything about me. I'm super organized. If that helps, I guess that's all my Wharton training, and like yeah, my brother-in-law, Akash, like I mentioned, my partner in this, he makes so much fun of me sometimes. He's like something's wrong with you. I'm really organized when it comes to, of course, work. It helped me during the nano days, but now he's taken over the business operations and also he does all that. But in the nano days, it was all me, so it of course helped then. I'm organized when it comes to home life. I'm organized when it comes to holidays. Also, I'm like super organized and super like lists and everything. So yeah, I think it's a superpower because everything has its place, and I feel like I can find anything.
I think it'll help you manage life a little easier. It'll help personal life and professional life, I think, go much easier if you're more organized, right? So you're not like, you have a list. You're somebody who will have a to-do list, who has, if I'm going on vacation, have I taken everything? But that just makes so much more sense because you're prepared. You know, you've already thought it through. You don't have to like, nothing surprises you like at the end, right? You're already ready for everything. So that actually brings me to my next question of work-life balance. So you have two kids, right? 6.5 year old and 2 year old, am I right? 6.5 and two. Your older daughter is with my younger daughter in school, and which relation we found out recently, which is interesting, right? So tell me, how do you manage work and how do you manage two kids? How does that all work out?
So right now with everyone staying at home and schools being at home and the homeschooling thing, it's of course a little bit more difficult to give each equal amounts of time. I am definitely leaning more towards home and school and kids. They're definitely getting a lot more time than work is. But then that's where my brother-in-law Akash, he steps in. Like he's been amazing. So let me just tell you a little bit about him also really quickly. He always believed in me before I believed in me. Like he's my husband's younger brother, and I've been dating my husband since donkey's years. So Akash was really young when I started dating him, and I used to take brownies and cookies and cupcakes even back. That used to feed him because he was this little chap, and I was like, "Oh yeah, 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 have some dessert." And he was like, "Your stuff is amazing." And then when I got married, he's like, "You have not when I when we were still dating, he's like, you have to open this cupcake store and you'll do amazing and open it." And then when I got married, he's like, "I found a location for you. You have to open this cupcake store." I'm like, "What are you talking? I'm not opening any cupcake store." He's like, "One day you will open a shop and I will never talk to you." I said, "Okay, Akash, that is not happening." Lo and behold, we opened a shop. So seriously, he believed in me before I did, and we opened. So the brick and mortar opened when he came back. So we did that together. So he's been in it since literally the beginning 2014, and we've done this completely hand in hand where he's taken care of the operations and the business aspect of it and the finances, and I do more of the product development and the R&D, and all that is me. So even now he's especially now in the last couple years with schooling and all at home, he's really taken up the slack. So it's been, touchwood, it's been amazing. He's been amazing, and it's been amazing having him because honestly, I don't know how I would have managed without him. Like with two kids,
I
yeah, it
know.
would have been
Schooling
difficult.
from
I'm gonna
home.
be
I
honest.
remember when you're planning this interview, when I said morning, you were like, no, no, no. And I knew you were going to say that, right? Because in every house, the same thing. Like, don't do calls in the morning. There kids, there's so much stuff happening at home, right? So I think but I also see that as a big blessing because I don't think I've spent this much time with my family ever, right? So I'm getting to know my kids so much better. I'm getting to spend so much time with them, and it's such a good age, right? I have a 9 year old and a 6 year old, right? So it's such a fun age because once they become teenagers, they are not going to want to spend time with us. Now they also enjoyed, we also enjoyed. So I think if you want to look at the silver lining of this whole pandemic, is it's come for, at least for me, it's come for a perfect time.
Sorry. No, I was saying that because the lockdown happened when my younger one was just about 7 to 8 months. what landed up happening, what for me was a major silver lining, is that my older one and younger one got to spend so much time together, which would not have happened otherwise, because like their school timings would have been like, like 7 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then some class or the other, and then going to sleep and all. So they wouldn't have had any time to bond. But now, because they're together all day, they actually have this amazing relationship, which wouldn't have developed had it not been for lockdown. So yeah, silver lining.
Silver lining, right? So tell me a little bit about mentors in your life. Do you have mentors in your life? Have they helped you? Are you mentoring anyone? I would love to hear about mentors.
So no, I haven't really. I mean, I speak to my husband. I speak to people around me, but there's not one go-to person that I'm like, okay, help me out with this. We all, like, within my family, within our family, we just like bounce ideas off of each other, and we just mentoring each other. I guess I don't know.
That's good,
I
right? I mean, it's good
yeah.
to have that support system at home where you can openly discuss things and you get valuable feedback, right? And I think that's actually invaluable, having that right within your four walls without going outside, which is fantastic, right? And so, but what I've seen is as you grow, right, as you're going to grow bigger and bigger, you're going to face problems that you haven't faced before, and at scales which you haven't faced before. You will have two options at that time. One is you try and figure it all out by yourself, or two is actually reach out to somebody who's been in that space, who's crossed that threshold, and just get some insight from them, and you'll be very surprised how much people are willing to help, right? So one of the big breakthroughs I had in my life is realizing that if you ask people for help, they go out of their way to help you. All you have to do is just ask, right? And so many people will go out of their way to help you. It could be little, it could be this much or this much, depends on what you're asking of them, right? So, and as
I
you
think
grow, you're going
Akash
to very
talks to a
soon
lot
start
more.
seeing,
Yeah, he
right?
definitely talks to a
Right.
lot more people, and yeah, than I do. He's the one who's on the phone a lot
Okay.
more.
So, what does a 5 year down the line look like for SHM? What does it look like for you?
So, of course, now we are already pan India. We've delivered to over 1,200 towns and cities in the country. So, we are pretty much a pan India brand right now. Yeah, like random towns and small, small places. So, it's amazing that we've been able to reach so many people. And yeah, they've enjoyed our products. Of course, we've had a lot of repeats. So, pan India is already happening, which is amazing. Now, of course, we're going to try to go international as well. That is definitely on the cards. We do get emails ever so often that, can you deliver to London? Can you deliver here? Can you deliver there? And we're like, it would take so much longer for the product to get to you. And it would be like much more, like it would be costlier for me to send it to you. Like the price of courier will be much more than the price of the product. So like it doesn't even make sense. But there are people asking, so there are fans of our product. So we definitely do want to go international in 5 years. I hope. I mean, that's the plan. Definitely to be international, to be in different parts of the globe. That is definitely the 5 year plan as of now. And yeah, as mine and Akash, both of us want that.
That is phenomenal, right? And I would love to see SHM in a Harrods. I would love to see it in US. I would love to see it in UK, Australia. And I know that there is a market for that, right? Because the product is
Yeah,
so superior and
definitely.
the brand, you know, I mean, when you think of SHM, you think of obviously yummy cookies, but then you also think of quality, right? So that's always been, I think, one of the backbones at your establishment. So tell me, yeah, go on.
No, I mean, I think that's where it helps that the person who's handling the finances and the person who's doing the menu development are two separate people. Because I can be like, no, I'm not compromising on my flavors, and he'd be like, but it needs to work out commercially, and then we can, come to a middle ground where at least I'm not sacrificing the quality of things, and it still works for him. So, because if I was the person doing both, it would be such a stressful situation in my head then I'm like, what do I do? It would be such a catch 22. But because it's segregated, we can figure out and come to a place where we're both happy.
So having the understanding of what is good, bad, having a different perspective, all under one roof, I think goes very very long way. So my last question for you: there are so many new people entering this domain, right? There are home bakers and people who are entering the food industry. What is the one piece of advice that you would like to give to them?
Oh, Definitely put in the hard work, because you can have all the passion in the world and be like, yeah, yeah, if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life and all that jazz. But if you don't put in the hard work, the sweat and the tears and all of that, it's not gonna pan out. Also, you have to don't give up hope, because it's going to be tough initially. So initially, in the middle, at some point, it's going there's going to be lots of ups and downs. So just keep on working, put your head down, look towards the light, and it's always going to work out if you put in the effort. I think that's the most important thing. Oh, and definitely try to get a partner. It makes life so much easier. Definitely, like you said, don't hesitate to ask for help. Like you said, don't hesitate to ask for help, and because you can't do everything, it's not humanly possible. Something will something will not.
If you
Yeah.
ever want to create a larger business, you require a lot more help, right? When you're starting off alone is fine. Now, sometimes that help may come as a co-founder, sometimes the help may come as mentors, sometimes the help may come as the first team members you hire, right? So if you make those selections correctly, that itself acts as a foundation for success. Sometimes your product may change, right? But if you got the right team, I think that is really, that can be the real secret of success, right? So thank you, Neha, for taking out the time and coming on the show and sharing a little bit about you, a little bit about the company, a little bit about the future, and what new people entering the field should be looking at. It was a lot of fun getting to know the person behind the brand, right? I mean, we didn't know we are cathedral parents like till we spoke in the people, which is such a small world, right? I mean, we could have probably bumped into each other sometime down the line. And I think I remember talking to you about 5, 6 years ago when you were just getting the labels done. And I remember, having the discussion with you, and I was so excited that I like, hey, the Swedish House cookie. I mean, I used to love the cookies, right? So I used to always love having customers whose products I love. So I remember connecting with them, but that time obviously we didn't get to know each other personally. But I'd love to, I love this interview. I love the fact that I got to know you as a person, right? Apart from the brand. So thank you for taking out the time, and we look forward to having you again sometime in the future.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun and very different from my other interviews.
So thanks again, Neha. So hey guys, that was Neha Sethi from Sweetish House Mafia. She shared so much about herself, the process, the tears that go behind creating great products, and the importance of having the great partner. Sometimes it can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be a mentor, it can be come in so many different forms. But having that person makes a big difference. So stay tuned for who is coming up next on our next show. Thanks a lot and have a great day ahead.